Hello everyone. Pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors are rare, but they are clinically fascinating entity. One patient may present with recurrent hypoglycemia and seizure, another with refractory peptic ulcers, another with liters of watery diarrhea, and another with silent pancreatic mass with liver mets. The key to understanding PNETs is simple. First, decide whether the tumor is functional or non-functional, then localize it, grade it, stage it, and plan the treatment. In this video, we will simplify the PNETs for medical students and trainees. So this is a very basic level talk meant for the trainees and basically medical students, from clinical presentation to investigation, prognosis and management. So theoretically, then some case discussion and questions, so that this will be a comprehensive video covering all the aspects of PNETs. Please read the detailed disclaimer and description. These videos are meant for education purpose only, and these are not a substitute for professional training and professional advice. And friends, for an exclusive and early access to our premium high definition content, please download our app Android or iOS or join the channel membership. The link for everything is given in the description of this video. Please check it out. So in this series, we have already uploaded few videos about the jejunal NEC, basically non-functional NET, Insulinoma. Please check them out so that you have a better background knowledge of this entity, the things we have already discussed on our YouTube channel and on our app. So now let's start with this PNET episode, Clinical Features, Investigation, Prognosis, Management 2026 update. If you have any doubt or any question, you can always ask in the comment section on YouTube or in the chat option on the app. So we will be happy to answer whenever, whatever we know, we will share with you. So the question number 1 is, PNETs arise primarily from ductal epithelial cells, acinar cells, islet cells of Langerhans, or pancreatic stellate cells. The answer is C, pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors. Basically, the neuroendocrine neoplasm arising from the endocrine islet cells, they differ biologically and clinically from ductal adenocarcinomas. PNETs account for approximately what fraction of all pancreatic tumors? Answer is C. PNETs are rare compared with the exocrine pancreatic tumors. Classical teaching is 1 to 2% of the pancreatic tumors are PNETs, the rest are PDAC. Most common functional PNET is, so answer is B. Insulinoma is the most frequent functional PNET and commonly present with fasting hypoglycemia. The best classical triad for Insulinoma is, so the answer is C. Whipple's triad defines clinically significant hypoglycemia with neuroglycopenic autonomic symptom relieved by glucose. So during a supervised 72-hour fast, the biochemical pattern supporting insulinoma is, so the answer is B, that endogenous hyperinsulinemia shows inappropriately high insulin and high C-peptide when glucose level is low. This is an important question. Factitious hypoglycemia due to exogenous insulin typically shows. So the answer is B, that injected insulin raises insulin but suppresses the endogenous secretion, leading to low C-peptide and low proinsulin level. So that is the catch, that in endogenous hyperinsulinemia, both the insulin and C-peptide proinsulin level will be high. The rule of 10 for insulinoma most appropriately means, so it is basically, answer is B, and it is not a rule, it is an exception. Multiple insulinoma should prompt evaluation for, answer is B, ME1 syndrome. Multiplicity strongly suggests ME1 association, parathyroid, pituitary, pancreatic endocrine tumors. Gastrinoma cause symptoms mainly due to, so answer is B, excess gastrin lead to hypergastrinemia, marked acid hypersecretion, that is refractory and multiple ulcer, diarrhea and malabsorption. Most sporadic gastrinomas are located in, we have already covered all these questions, all the questions were asked, I have already answered in my video. So answer is B. The gastrinoma triangle or the Pesaro triangle concept indicates, answer is B, region where 90% of gastrinoma arise, Most gastrinoma occur within the anatomical gastrinoma triangle, classical surgical anatomy. Best single differentiator of gastrinoma versus other cause of hypergastrinemia is, so again we have already discussed, the answer is B. Gastrinoma, high gastrin, high acid, low pH, atrophic gastritis, and BPI, high gastrin but low acid and higher pH. Hypergastrinemia with the low gastric acid output is most consistent with, we have just discussed. Answer is B. Atrophic gastritis oblique pernicious anemia, parietal cell loss, achlorhydria, compensatory hypergastrinemia. Secretin stimulation test in gastrinoma classically shows. So answer is C. Paradoxical increase in gastrin after secretin supports gastrinoma is used when fasting gastrin is equivocal. Pipoma syndrome is best remembered as, it's simple. Answer is A. WDHA syndrome, watery diarrhea, hypokalemia, achlorhydria. That is the Werner-Morrison syndrome. BIP causes watery diarrhea mainly by. So answer is B. Increase basically intestinal cycle AMP that leads to secretory diarrhea. A key clinical clue suggesting secretory diarrhea, that is bipoma or Werner-Morrison syndrome or WDHA syndrome is. So answer is B. Secretory diarrhea continues during fasting. Osmotic diarrhea improves. So this is the one of the hallmark of the Werner-Morrison syndrome. Glucagonoma is classically associated with. You cannot forget that picture of NEGM. The answer is A. Necrolytic migratory edema plus diabetes and weight loss is hallmark. So at diagnosis, glucagonoma most commonly has. Answer is C. Most of the glucagonomas present late and they have liver mets at presentation. The classical triad with somatostatinoma 3S includes. So answer is A. Stone, sugar, steatoria. Somatostatin inhibits insulin GI excretion and leading to diabetes, steatoria, because the pancreatic inhibition and also gallstone from the reduced gallstone motility. So all these things we have already discussed in the theoretical discussion of this video. This is a repetition. Next question is non-functional PNETs most commonly present with. So answer is C. Non-functional PNETs lack a hormonal syndrome and are usually discovered very late with usually meds. A commonly used but non-specific marker for a non-functional NET is B. Chromoglobin A can be elevated but it is non-specific, can rise with PPI and renal failure. The best first-line imaging for localizing or staging of suspected PNET is. So B. CT scan oblique MRI. They detect hypervascular primary tumor or METs. PNETs are typically best seen on CT during which phase? So C. Arterial phase, because they are hypervascular, avid arterial enhancement is seen. They light up on the with contrast. Endoscopic ultrasound is most useful because it is. So B is the answer. It can detect very small lesion up to 2-3 mm and even tissue diagnosis is possible with USFNB. Again, similar question. A major advantage of US over CT MRI in PNET workup is. So answer is B. You can have a tissue diagnosis also along with the imaging. The gold standard functional imaging for somatostatin receptor expressing NET is. Come on. We have already discussed it. So answer is B. Gallium DOTA PET, DOTA NOx, basically DOTA based studies. They are high sensitivity specific for SSTR positive NET and is preferred over the older scintigraphy. Octoscan, that SRS old scan, works by. Answer is B. Binding to the somatostatin receptor with radio level analog. Next, angiography can localize PNETs because they are. Next is on histopathology. Neuroendocrine tumors classically show. C. Stippled or salt and paper chromatin is characteristic of the NETs. Most useful confirmatory IHC marker for NET includes. So B, chromogan A and synaptophysin are the key neuroendocrine marker. Ki67 aids in grading. Do remember that. The WHO grading of well-differentiated PNETs are usually primarily based upon. So I hope you remember it's B, Ki67, proliferation index and mitotic count. Ki is less than 3, 3 to 20, more than 20, and mitotic is less than 2, 2 to 20, and more than 20. Pancreatic NET grade 1 is defined by Ki67 less than, so less than 3% Ki and less than 2 mitotic count. Answer is A. A well-differentiated pancreatic NET with Ki67 more than 20% is. So we have discussed this in a table. So this answer will be B, well-differentiated NET grade 3 if the architecture is preserved. If the architecture is not preserved, poorly differentiated, then it will be NEC. Poorly differentiated pancreatic NEC is typically, come on, we have already discussed this. So NEC small oblique large cell 2 type is aggressive with poor prognosis and often needs systemic chemotherapy. I mean, they are usually not amenable for any surgical section. Best overall curative option for localized PNET is, so surgery. Option B, resection is the treatment of choice for all localized disease. Approach depends on the size, site, grade, and function. So whenever we can take out the disease, we have to offer them surgery. Enucleation is most appropriate for, remember the case we have discussed. So B, small tumor less than 2 cm, low grade, grade 1, grade 2 may be close to the surface. A key surgical criteria favoring enucleation is tumor distance from main pancreatic duct. We already discussed. Option B, must be 2 to 3 mm away from the PD. Close proximity to the MPD increase fistula risk. So intraoperative ultrasound helps define the duct relation. So tumor in the head of pancreas requiring oncological resection most often needs. Option B, that will be Whipple procedure. Tumor in body tail of pancreas requiring resection often needs. Option A, distal pancreatectomy, friends. So body tail lesion typically treated with distal pancreatectomy depending on the oncological context and may require splenectomy also. Most common metastatic site from PNET is liver. Option C, most common site on METs strongly impacts prognosis and strategy, whether single, multiple, single lobe, bilobar. A patient with metastatic SSTR positive well-differentiated PNET is candidate for. Again, we have discussed option B, PRRT, that is the peptide receptor radionucleotide therapy. Again, this is a very good modality for the metastatic lesion where the surgery is not feasible. Somatostatin analog octreotide, lenalidomide are primarily used to, as I said, they are the cross inhibitors, static tumors. So they are control hormone symptoms and slow tumor growth in SSTR positive disease. Option B, everolimus used in advanced PNET targets the mTOR pathways, friends. Everolimus is mTOR inhibitor used in progressive advanced PNETs. Sunitinib benefits advanced PNET primarily through. Option B, tyrosine kinase inhibitor, TKI inhibitor, anti-angiogenic. A commonly used modern chemotherapy regimen for advanced well-differentiated PNET is option B, Captam, that is captamine and temozolomide, widely used in pancreatic NET, especially progressive and metastatic disease. Streptozocin-based chemotherapy in PNET is classically combined with option B, doxorubicin. So streptozocin and doxorubicin is classical regimen used historically in the advanced PNETs. Symptomatic medical therapy that reduce insulin release in Insulinoma is, I hope if you are not able to answer it, then I'm really worried. Diazoxide, option A, inhibits insulin secretion from beta cell used for the symptomatic control of pre-op or even when inoperable. First line symptomatic control of acid hypersecretion in Gastrinoma is, it is simple, high dose PPI, option B. So with that, friends, we have reached this end of this video, and I hope we have added some new insight, new knowledge to your existing vast knowledge. So thank you very much, friends, and we wish you a happy learning. And for an exclusive and early access to our premium high definition content, please download our app or join the channel membership. The link for everything is given in description of this video. So we will don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We will come up with more knowledgeable videos. Stay tuned. Happy learning.